Linked up on Mark13News.com for March 23rd, 2025 is an article called Russia's Shadow War Against the West on the Center for Strategic and International Studies website, and it says Russia is conducting an escalating and violent campaign of sabotage and subversion against European and U.S. targets in Europe led by Russian military intelligence. The number of Russian attacks nearly tripled between 2023 and 2024, and Russia's primary targets have included transportation, government, critical infrastructure, and industry. Despite the increase in Russian attacks, Western countries have not developed an effective strategy to counter these attacks. And it's also at this time the Ezekiel 38 Confederacy is formulating, headed by Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, meaning most likely Moscow and Tobolsk, the Russian Federation being the current king of the north according to the Daniel 11 hypothesis on biblicalresearchlabs.com, the third king of the north with the second king of the north having been the Soviet Union. And then as you can see in the section titled Russian Shadow Wars, the historical context, during the Cold War, the Soviet Union developed an aggressive campaign to influence populations across the globe in ways that aided Soviet interest and undermined the United States, which is the current king of the South, and its allies, which was best captured in the phrase active measures. Led by the KGB, active measures included several types of activities: written and oral disinformation, including gray, meaning unattributed, and black, meaning falsely attributed, propaganda, the use of agents of influence, including foreign academics and media assets, clandestine radio stations, the use of foreign political parties and international front groups to pursue Soviet national security objectives. And this sort of activity obviously continued after the Soviet Union was replaced with the Russian Federation, as you can see in Alexander Dugin's 1997 book, Foundations of Geopolitics, where he wrote it is necessary to oppose the Atlanticist geopolitics of the United States at all levels and in all regions of the earth, trying to weaken, demoralize, deceive, and ultimately defeat the enemy as much as possible. It is especially important to introduce geopolitical disorder into internal American activity, encouraging all kinds of separatism and ethnic, social, and racial conflicts, actively supporting all dissident movements, extremist, racist, and sectarian groups, thus destabilizing internal political processes in the United States. It would also make sense simultaneously to support isolationist tendencies in American politics, and so it is as nation continues to rise against nation, meaning the Kenite nation rising against itself within the shadow government thereof, which is symbolized by the he-goat of Daniel chapter 8, through two warring factions. The Kenites on the unipolar end of the globalist spectrum, who for the most part control the left-right paradigm, which is symbolized by Ammon and Moab, while the multipolarist Kenites control Edom, meaning not only the Russian Federation, but also the hidden agents of Edom within the left-right paradigm, the Kenites being the robbers of thy people, who will exalt themselves to establish the vision, meaning the vision of a global government, but they shall fall, as you can see in Daniel 11:14. That word translated as fall there is a word which in this case means to fail, because there will be no new world order, as it's called, until Satan and his angels get cast to earth at the woe of the fifth trumpet. Only then does the one world political system of Revelation 13 emerge, having 7 heads, which are symbolic of the 7 continents of the planet Earth, at the beginning of the 5-month-long hour of temptation, which is when the Ezekiel 38 Confederacy becomes the bear of Daniel chapter 7, and the he-goat becomes the leopard of Daniel chapter 7, which is symbolic of the Kenites and their 4 hidden dynasties, providing the infrastructure of the so-called New World Order that will get wounded to death, after which Satan appears as the Antichrist at the woe of the 6th trumpet, healing the deadly wound, which is when the one-world political system becomes a one-world religious system, and the Christian nations, which are what the lion of Daniel chapter 7 is symbolic of, become non-Christian nations, because it's at that time that most Christians will worship Satan instead of Christ, which is what Antichrist means. The true Christ won't return until 2.5 months later at the woe of the 7th trumpet, and as the true Christ says in the last verse of Mark chapter 13, what I say unto you, I say unto all, watch. The Apocalypse of Genesis contains a study of the first 8 chapters of the book of Genesis on one audio compact disc free of charge. Just call 1-800-816-2432 and tell us where to mail it, and we'll also send you a free copy of the 7 Seals of the Apocalypse booklet along with the free CD. Again, that's 1-800-816-2432. Fantastic, you'll enjoy it.